Phase 4, right? We've gotten a lot of lackluster movies and some good TV shows, I think, out of it. But a lot of people have dubbed Phase 4 the MCU, with a lot of movies leading into female mainstays as opposed to, obviously the original Avengers
some
being
mantle
mostly male.
passing here and there, that kind of thing.
Quite a bit. But it has not been so kind to minority women, as specifically black women. Any thoughts on how the Phase 4 has kind of lined up against black women?
I just think it's funny that it's been dubbed the MCU when so much of what we've been getting, at least in terms of narratives that are built up for people to assume mantles or have stories that will carry on into, other phases, it has very much been, along the same lines of standard Hollywood demographics, right? Mostly male white, then female white, then we start mixing in there some Pacific Islander Asian, some Indian here and there, and then we got black women, as was supposed to be, at least from what I was getting, what I was feeling was the at least the marketing wave for the time being, while we were going through the whole the Black Lives Matter explosion that came behind Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and all of those killings that happened in those 2 summers. It kind of felt like we were going the way of, black girl magic, and this is what we're going to put our force behind. But then slowly but surely things kind of shake themselves out to be standard Hollywood, which ends up being Lily White. And so if you really kind of track it back to the start of this phase, which would have started with WandaVision, how we started and where we ended up with a lot of this so-called MCU has been standard Hollywood practice. There's nothing different about it, only we just went slightly more female on this phase. But even then, a lot of the lasting impacts are not there.
Yeah.
They didn't permanently change anything. Not much, if anything. So starting with WandaVision, right? We've got Monica Rambeau, who seems like she's getting geared up to be a mainstay, a leading character in some regard. No speak of a solo series, no speak of a solo movie. She is rumored to be in the Captain Marvel movie that's coming out in 2023, I believe.
Yeah.
But that will have been 2.5 years after her series premiered, and she's showed up in no other projects. None. Not a series, not another movie, nothing.
Yeah, I guess I would think that, her coming out as a main character would come from the Marvels, but you said, nothing.
Yeah, but nothing in between. So everything that we know about Monica Rambeau is going to be from WandaVision, right? A series that was not about her and did not center her.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we have going into a movie that's supposed to be her quote unquote coming out party is going to be based off a series that wasn't even about her. Okay.
Doesn't make sense.
There's a little bit of potential for her to show up in Secret Invasion, I think, but it's not something I'm confident in, because there were other points within this phase to this point where she could have popped up and they didn't.
Yeah.
And we've heard no talks of her popping up in the series thus far. Everything seems to be 2023 with like another person's title movie.
Which, like you said, is a long time to go without any sort of appearance to develop her character.
Yeah, a 2-year break to reprise your sidekick role. Natalie Portman took two movies off and got to don the mantle. She took 2 movies off and got to don the mantle. No, technically she only took off 1 movie. She was in Dark World. She was the impetus of Dark World. Took off a whole movie and came back and was the title character, essentially, the co-lead.
Yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, Carly Morgenthau. So this time we've got a black woman who's a villain, right? Decent character, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't hate Malcolm Spellman's take on Carly Morgenthau. I actually kind of liked it. she's a villain or an anti-hero at very, very least that I would have liked to seen go on, but of course she gets shot.
Yeah, her character and what
also
she was
a very interesting choice of how to kill a Marvel villain.
Yeah.
Not too many Marvel villains that get shot dead, but hey, you know.
Her character and what she was fighting for is very realistic as far as what, you know, black people go through and what black people have to fight for. Mm-hmm. So that was at least good in that she was somewhat relatable as a black woman character.
But then it's 6 episodes and she's gone forever.
Yeah. Yeah, to not see her again is nuts.
Right. Sharon Carter.
Yes.
There we go.
Sharon Carter.
Conversely, her role explodes in the MCU. She's going to have a role that delves into different series, maybe even movies, because she didn't die. And she got a key role in that series that's going to last on. The chick from Seinfeld, the dark-haired chick, God damn it.
I just can't remember her character.
Yeah, her.
It's been so long since I've watched.
She was barely in the series, and she's going to have more of an impact on the MCU going forward than Carly Morgenthau. And she was in it for a total of like 10 minutes. Shows up again in Black Widow. Right? So she's going to have a lasting MCU impact. Yelena from Black Widow, lasting MCU impact. Kate Bishop, lasting MCU Hawkeye. She's looking like she's going to be Hawkeye's sidekick going forward. What did we get for Carly Morgenthau? What did we get for Monica Rambeau? Hell, in the latest iteration of Thor, in this latest installment of Thor, they've relegated Valkyrie, Tessa Thompson's role, to more of a sidekick than she's ever been in the movies.
Yeah.
She's more of a sidekick now than she was in Thor Ragnarok. And she's the king of New Asgard. Whatever that means. Because Thor shows up and he's immediately in charge again. And her role is relegated to running around the universe on Thor's coattails. Now 2 Thor's coattails.
One of them who happened to be a white woman.
So again, I'm trying to figure out, who is this the MCU for? Who's MCU? Certainly not one that looks like, you know, my mother, my wife, my nieces. Certainly not one that represents them well. Yeah. Loki, we get a cop,
Hunter
B-15, who ends up being a good guy. That was a decent character arc.
And
that was a decent character arc. And maybe we'll see her in season 2 of Loki. Then we got Renslayer, who's an undying patriot and loyalist to a fascist regime.
She gets married to Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, I figured it has something to do with Kang since she's in the Loki series.
Yeah.
And I hope that's the way they play it. Not likely, because they're not too fond of black love over there anywhere in Marvel. Marvel Comics, Marvel Studios, anywhere in Marvel. They're not too fond of putting 2 black people together and making them okay. But these are 2 villain black people, so that may work for them. You know, that may actually work.
We need to have a villains. Black Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. You know, that may tickle their
criminals,
fancy.
Essentially. That's nuts.
What am I missing?
Ironheart and Secret Invasion.
Ironheart has been delayed twice. Ironheart has been delayed twice. Ironheart now is going to, instead of debuting in her own series, is going to debut in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which wouldn't piss me off as much if there was a T'Challa in there, but now since it's an ensemble cast and we're just doing tours and sites of Wakanda, then, you know, hopefully that's a more enjoyable point. But once again, we have another black character being introduced as ensemble instead of having an avenue to have themselves introduced with their own series, i.e. Hawkeye, i.e. what we're going to get for She-Hulk, i.e. even Miss Marvel, which we will talk about that today. We're going to bring Chillmonger back on and rap about what's been going on in Miss Marvel, because I, in my estimation, it hasn't been the best series, but we'll talk about it some more. I think the way that they are doing Kamala Khan is similar, not as bad, because again, of course, she has her own series. But it is similar to how they are doing most of the potential leads for black women in the MCU. So Ironheart, while I am excited that she is actually getting a series, it worries me because, again, the same thing that we're talking about with all of these characters. What is the scope? What's the aim? Where are we headed here? What is this character's arc?
How does this thing develop into
a larger character, a mainstay in the MCU? You know, somebody who's not a afterthought.
Yeah.
Or a sidekick, or a villain, or cannon fodder.
One thing that now that we're talking about movies, you already talked about Thor: Love and Thunder, but one thing you haven't spoken about yet is how Bast was supposed to be cast in Thor: Love and Thunder, and how that was supposed to lead into
exactly. So we were promised a black goddess in Thor: Love and Thunder, and she didn't have a single scene. Like, again, this wasn't MCU scoop leak. This was a confirmed by Marvel. Came out and confirmed her. And then we don't see her at all. So now, since the movie has released this week, I guess I should expect to see reporters rushing over to ask them, oh, what happened to, I don't know the lady's name, so I'm not even going to try to butcher it. But what happened to her? I heard she got cast and we didn't see any of her scenes. Why did it make sense to remove her from the movie or not have any scenes in there for her? I guess we should expect to hear that, right? I guess we'll expect to hear all the blog boys and all the reviewers and all the MCU recording sites expect to ask them, oh, why didn't we see Bast? What happened to Bast?
No, you're not going to hear that because the target demographic, first of all, it isn't black women. They're trying to target a female demographic, but they don't give a shit about black women.
Yeah, and it shows because every other part of this, this so-called MCU has been about elevating the female characters. In some spaces, they've assumed the mantle. In some spaces, like this latest iteration with Thor, they allowed him to keep his mantle. Jane got it for one movie, and then she had to go. You got to get up out of there.
No, you know who Thor is.
Because Thor talks to a very specific demographic in this country, and that will never be the one that gets the least attention. Ever. Their heroes stick forever. Even if Chris Hemsworth's Thor does not continue on, which, I mean, from the end of this movie, it seems like they have every intention on continuing on making Thor movies for some reason. But from narratively, it looks like they're definitely, I don't think they have a way of just writing him out with what happened at the end of this movie. But it just seems, again, that the standard of representation ebbs and flows, just like it does everywhere. But it does benefit all of us to see exactly how it's playing out. Look at what they're giving them. Look at what they give everyone else. And then look at what they give you. Where are your characters within the MCU? What are they doing? What role do they play? How important are they? And then look at everyone else.
It seems to me that they're more interested in dangling representation in front of you
and never doing anything with it.
But then enough to get your money, obviously, but then not give you any real substance out of it.
Yeah.
Right? Representation is very much supposed to be, I see myself in that character, so therefore substance needs to come with that in order for it to be impactful. But like I said, they're kind of dangling it in front of you to keep you interested, to make you pay your money out for it. It's pandering. Is what it is.
Here's a question. So with everything that we've gotten from the MCU so far in terms of representing black women, what if Shuri doesn't take the mantle the way everyone expects her to? What if by the time that Black Panther 2 is over, by the time the movie is over, Wakanda Forever, Shuri has not assumed the mantle of Black Panther? What if she has a movie where she is every bit the side character that everyone else in the movie is, and then at the end of it, she's not even Black Panther, like everyone thinks? Even the current course that we feel like they're on, a post-snap movie where Shuri is assuming the role of Black Panther because T'Challa has been slain, and she needs to guard it from an incursion from the Atlanteans and Namor, right? If that is the premise that we're running with, and at the end of that movie, Shuri is not Black Panther, how does that make you feel that everyone is calling this the MCU, right? This is the phase for women. And yes, yet again, black women are left out of it. This is the MCU. This is the phase of women can do it better. This is the phase of women taking over the roles, right? Leading the MCU. And yet again, at the back of the line, I see a bunch of sidekicks, dead bodies, and side characters. And all of them black. This is bigger than recast T'Challa. Because they continue to give us the crumbs when they give everyone else the full course meal. This is our 4th Thor movie. And honestly, I'm struggling to pick a favorite. It would have to be Ragnarok. And I don't even like that movie that much. We're on our 4th, heading towards our 5th. There will be another Thor movie. You have one property in this whole thing. You have one property that belonged to you. And they're tearing it down to the point that no one matters as much as the title characters and all the other ones. If everyone's an ensemble character and anybody can be Black Panther and you can just bounce it around, then who's your Thor of Wakanda? Who's your Captain America of Wakanda? Who's your Captain Marvel of Wakanda? Who is your yeah, they'll have another black person leading a title, right? But it's the white guy's title. It's the one where he has to wear the stars and stripes. Another title or another topic we'll be talking about today. But they'll give you the black guy wearing the stars and stripes. But can there be a central black leader, one guy who stands the test of time? Leading the black title? No. You know what that title needs? Chaos. Death. Dysfunction. Trauma. That's what that title needs. They don't need the stability that all the other titles get. They don't need the consistency and the trueness to canon that all the other titles get. That's not what needs to happen here. Give us your thoughts on everything. Any properties featuring or supposedly featuring black women in the MCU in phase 4. Make sure you comment, like, share, subscribe, and come back for more MCU related content.
And make sure you check out our playlist, which include more recast T'Challa as well as just general Marvel content. And make sure you subscribe. Like he said, we like to talk about Marvel and the MCU quite a bit, so make sure you subscribe for more.